Good morning, January 4th, 2019. Welcome to Spider-Man Friday, as Dr. Kaz requested yesterday. So before me, I have a 6x8 with the Spider-Man in his black suit from the cover of Secret Wars #8, his first appearance, although there is some debate about that, but in Marvel timeline history, it would be the first appearance, even though it did appear first in another comic. You had to have the backstory of Secret Wars #8 to find out how he got the costume. So it was a publishing versus timeline discrepancy. Anyway, this is what I'm going to be recreating today. And I've done it before on multiple sketch covers for people. So I thought it might make a nice daily draw piece, because I've never done it just as a little standalone. And I do want to show you all. I do use reference for the actual cover, and I just light box it off. Mike, Zach, and we both do this because there's no use in reinventing the wheel when the wheel's already been made. So I just lightly trace it off enough to see, to give me a roadmap to go by. Then I'll put this reference over here to go kind of see as many details to try to keep it as accurate as possible. So that's what's on the agenda this morning. I do want to say that we will be having a live stream tonight, 6 or 6:30. I am leaning towards 6:30 because I have to go home and get a few things taken care of before I come back to my office and stream. And in the stream tonight, for those of you who are early listeners, I'll go back over this later on, will be myself, Jared the yard sale artist, Albrecht, Ron, who's a frequent visitor in the chat here daily, and also has hosted a show or two with me. Craig Zablo will be in the house for a while because he's actually working on his house. Everything from the floors to the ceilings to new kitchen remodel, and then he's gonna retire. So there, I will, after I get this finished and get a thumbnail and stuff up, I will be putting that out for advance notice so people will know it's coming up. Good morning, Ron. Gonna do something for Dr. Kaz here. Gonna let him have first view on it. Or not first view, first dibs. He wanted a Spider-Man Friday, so I'm giving him a full figure homage to the actual Secret Wars 8 cover. I think the price on this in the chat room will be $80. If it goes off of the chat, it will at least be $100, if not a little bit more, because of the nature of what it is. But anyway, I should get started. I would like to mention I don't know. You live in Florida, Ron. I live in Florida. There's a few more, I think, that are. I don't know if anybody else is kind of. There's something in the air, and it's got my wife's nasal passages stuffed up as well as Jacob. I don't really get that problem. What I get is my right eye gets a little like sticky, like it doesn't like to open, or I don't know. It's that time of year where we start to see a lot of pollen on vehicles and stuff in the morning. Good morning, Shannon. How are you, sir? Good, I hope. Um, just complaining about the pollen that seems to be uh, invading Florida again right now, as we went from a cold to a warm change, and I think it's just that time of year where the pollen kind of reactivates again. And I was stating how it's got my son and my wife, it's got them congested really bad. To me, doesn't, it's never been a problem except for my eye, especially for some reason, my right eye. And I put drops in it, but it just seems to still gunk that eye up a bit and make it a bit uncomfortable until the afternoon when the pollen burns off, and then it seems to get better. And then again at night, in the evening, when the pollen starts to settle back in, kind of the same thing. So, Dr. Kaz, this is your Spider-Man Friday. I even titled the stream, subtitled it that. So if you're out there, this is a full figure. It will be done with wash tones. I will maybe add some color. I'm gonna do the clouds in the back, and I'm thinking of putting that orange background that was on the cover, although it was actually originally colored red. But if you notice on Secret Wars 8, you may not, and that's fine. I've seen more of them than you all, I'm sure. Uh, some of them are very, very saturated red, and others of them, of course, when the ink began to get low, it would turn to a orange color. So I actually prefer somewhere in between. The real dark red ones, I mean, I get why it's there, but I prefer the orange color. So once I get the clouds in ink wash, if I feel brave enough, I will. And if I think it's going to add to it, if I don't think it's going to add, and no need to do it, I will put a nice big orange wash over the whole background, including the clouds, and let the gray ink wash do its thing. But right now we're just getting the character outlined so he can don his black suit when I get my brush out with ink and fill it all in. Since I'm just starting this morning, I'm just warming up my hand. This is the way I normally do it. If I start out with pen, it usually takes me a little while, and I haven't warmed up inking yet this morning, so I probably could go in with a brush, only for the fact that this costume is black, so I don't have to be so precise with the line. I don't have to worry about it. You'll see me draw through areas just so I make sure the line gets through. Um, so yeah, interesting. I just got my email from YouTube creators. They send like a monthly update on how your channel's performing and stuff. So I really enjoy giving that a read. And I know we picked up some new uh, subscribers this week, and I appreciate those people subscribing to the channel. Let's see. No, Ron, I didn't hear about the wreck. Uh, was that last night or this morning? Because I haven't had any local radio or anything like that on. I was actually listening to the Futures not podcast, but YouTube. They had a guy that I kind of know who is a master at passive income, Dustin Leon, interviewing him. I am actually not a big news person. So I usually don't hear about stuff. I didn't know about the three people dying and then the fourth one until I opened Facebook. That seems to be where I find out where either pop culture or other people of note die. My mother keeps me informed on anybody that I may or may not know locally. She's a habitual obituary reader. And sometimes she gets it wrong, not on purpose, but she thinks it's somebody that I may have known just because, and it could be their brother or it could be their father. And she'll tell me someone died, and I'll be like, I didn't hear anything about it. And she'll be like, oh, yeah, it's in the paper. And then she'll show me, and I'll be like, no, that's somebody I don't know. Well, I thought you went to school with them or so. No, I actually, and Craig Zablo, if he was here, could back me up on this. I used to do uh, on one of my old blogs, and I'm talking old time. Uh, when I was over in Orlando, when I first started doing a website, I did because I did used to read the paper over there. Didn't have the internet, didn't have real good news, so had a subscription to the Orlando Sentinel. I would read the paper. Usually I would read this section about this date in history, or it's kind of in the front of the paper. Maybe the most interesting in a sense. Um, but I would always pick a few tidbits from that and do my version of that news. I would read through the short snippet, try to find something a little more detail if I needed to, and then put my own comment to it and try to inject a little bit of humor. Now, my mother, I'm sure she heard about that wreck because she'll stay up and watch news channels and stuff at night. Okay, Ron says it was last night. 2 tractor trailers, one of which was a fuel tanker, and a couple passenger vehicles. I heard 7 fatality and more injured. Wow, that is not a good one. I remember Craig Zablo and I think we're going to Heroes Con, one of the last times that just he and I drove up together. And it was just before we got to Jacksonville on 95 North. This semi pulled over to the side of the road. He was coming south. We were going north. He was driving. I saw the truck like smoking, and we were a fair distance from it, but I could still see this billowing smoke. And I told Craig, I said, something's going on up ahead. And he goes, what? And I said, I don't know. Look. And about that time, we were close enough to where the truck, the engine compartment, burst into flames. And he naturally slowed down just on I guess, instinct. And I told him I had to, luckily I had my wits about me, and I wasn't driving. So I told him, no, don't slow down, because people are going to start doing that exact thing, and it's going to cause a bottleneck, and we're going to get stuck. But as we passed the truck, the flame across 95, we could feel the heat from that truck on fire in another vehicle. It was that hot. It was pretty amazing. The driver, he was out of his truck, so he wasn't hurt. I have no idea what happened. It was just the truck. It kind of exploded or something. No, man. You know what? That's always my biggest fear, Ron, when I drive, is getting in one of those wrecks that or not myself, but just having one shut down both ways of a highway, every lane, and you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere for hours. And you always think, when your gas tank gets to like a quarter or a little less, you're always like, I'll get gas the next stop. I'll get gas the next stop. And sometimes that next stop might be 20, 30 miles away. And while you have enough gas to get there, if something like this backs you up at 20 or 30 miles, or even 5 miles or 2 miles, could be, what would seem like a lifetime. I actually got into race traffic once, coming home from Orlando. Was not paying attention because I'm not a fan of NASCAR. And I exited on 95 to go down 92, which is International Speedway Boulevard, to hit Williamson to get down to LPGA, which is 11th Street to me, since I'm an OG in this town and remember it as 11th Street before they changed it. And suddenly, all this traffic is going one way down Williamson, and I realize, oh, they're single filing everyone to erase traffic so they can get them out of the area sooner. No problem. It's going in the direction I need. And as soon as I hit LPGA, which is maybe a mile or two from 92, then I'm golden, because I go down 92, make it turn north on Williamson, and then turn east on 11th Street, and I'm home. But no, Johnny Law was there and would not let me turn east on LPGA. I had my blinker on. They had it blocked off. He kept motioning me to go west on LPGA. So there was a convenience / gas station on the corner with another highway patrol. So I figured, okay, maybe this guy will let me cross through the other direction where they're not corralling traffic. So I politely pull up to the officer. I have my ID ready, and I approach him, and that's usually not the best thing to do, is to approach an officer. To just get out of your, let's see, what did I have at the time? I think I had a truck. I think I was actually still had my little Ranger. Anyway, so I get out of my truck. I politely go and say, "Good day, officer." And he goes, "How can I help you?" And I tell him my name. I hand him my ID. It's got my address on it. I explained to him that I live right down LPGA, about 3 miles at the most from where we're at. And I asked him politely, is there a way that I could, because there's no traffic going down that way. I mean, none, not a single car. So I politely asked him, could I, and there was a clear route. I said, would you allow me to cut through here and make a turn so I can get home? Absolutely not, was his answer. And he said, you're going to have to follow the traffic. We are rerouting all locals to Highway 40 via 95. So what should have taken me 10 minutes to get home, since I had to get on 95 bumper to bumper all the way to 40. Once I got onto 40, it was fine, but that was not the easy part. Luckily, like I said, it was a gas station, and so I went ahead and topped my tank off. I think I was about half a tank, but I didn't want to get out on 95 and then run out of gas, because I was already frustrated at 2 officers not letting me turn. I even tried to make a case that's why I gave him my ID. I said, officer, look, you can see my city's Holly Hill. You know I'm right there. He said, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, son. Get in your car, turn around. He was very rude about it. There was no, you know, ap- apologetics for, you know, for him not being able. It was just cut and dry. Nope, can't do it. Go this way. Take 40. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things that happen out on the road that I don't understand. I mean, I see people driving, and it just makes me scratch my head. I think some of these people, and God forgive me for saying this, but I think some of those people need to get in an accident, not hurt anybody except maybe their vehicles, but just to, teach them a lesson that, you know, learn to drive, learn to have a little bit of patience, get there safely, and don't risk your life or anyone else's. And I say that only for the fact that I cherish my wife and son, that I know when they are on a trip with me, I do drive a lot more cautious, I'm sure, than when I'm by myself. Not that I am not a driver like Ron. I mean, I am not just kidding there, Ron. I am not a careless driver on the highway, which I have seen some people be. I maybe used to be when I was younger, but when you get older, uh, I think you got to become more aware, or I think you do become more aware of how precious life actually is. Suddenly, things are a lot clearer that if you live to be a certain age, um, you know, there's a reason for it. Because there's so many ways you can get into an accident that could end your life, that would not even be your fault, such as people that drive and don't care about themselves, but problem is they don't think about other people until maybe it's too late. Good morning, Dr. Kaz. Good morning, Tater, and good morning, C. Thank you all for joining in on Spider-Man Friday. The announcements, if you did not hear them, were yes, we are having a Friday night stream. Myself, Jared, Craig Zabla will be joining, Ron will be joining, and I'm not sure if, didn't hear anything from Pat, but I will send the invite and maybe he'll stumble in as the night progresses. Estimated time for kickoff is going to be 6 to 6:30 Eastern time. Probably more towards the 6:30 time frame, because once again, I need to go home today and help drive a few people places and do a few things. So Dr. Kaz, I am specifically doing this for your dibs. Now, it is a full figure. I'm going to put the smoke behind Spider-Man as it appears in the cover of Secret Wars 8. Since it is a full figure, and I might go full color, I might do orange in the background. Not 100% sure of that yet. I'm going to see how it develops. I'm not sure if it's going to need it. Your dibs price on this will be $80 because it is a full figure. This is the reference. It is the same spider I showed earlier from the cover of Secret Wars 8. I told you, Spider. When you put the thought in my head, and then I got to thinking, what could make Spider-Man Friday really special? Well, number one, I've never done a full figure on one of these smaller 6x8 pieces. Number two, this is a homage to the cover of Secret Wars 8, the first appearance of Spider-Man in his black costume, black suit, is what we referred to it back there. Back then, I don't think the symbiote thing, unless it's been so long since I've read Secret Wars, somebody can help me out on that. Until Secret Wars, like I said, I don't know if they were using the term symbiote until they actually figured out that they were going to keep the costume. So for me, I'm not clear on that, but I know you people are smart on the internet and can find it. But I remember we were just referring to it as Spider-Man's black costume. So this one definitely has a lot of history. It's also the first time, usually I get this request as a sketch cover, and I'll show you. I keep a template. My exec and I both do this, so it's, no big deal. See, that's what I remember, Ron. I think that was something that came when they decided they needed to keep the costume, and since it was an alien planet, I think that was a word that was fostered in later. I also keep this is for Secret Wars, the variant, and I've got a little grid drawn on it, so when I position it on the sketch cover, I'll put the sketch cover over it, and I trace this part through. Got all the background cleaned out of the scan. And I give myself just enough to get the pose down. Like I said, Mike and I do the same thing. This one, I had to shrink it down a little bit to fit on the 6x8 artboard. But this one is like the printed cover size, and I use this so I can position it on the actual sketch cover when I do them. And if you've seen my Instagram, which is instagram.com/John Beatty, my name, you'll see a lot of, I've done quite a few of these, and I can take one to a convention pre-done if I want to, and it always sells. Somebody will always pick it up. I just put it on the table in a plastic shell, and somebody will take it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Kaz. Let me tag the room with that. Thank you, Dr. Kaz. Much appreciated. Um, we're going to work this up for you now. And since you're in the room, you can help me decide if you want the orange background or if we're just going to leave the, the ink wash clouds. But let's take that one step at a time. I'm not sure, if it's going to be too much, but we'll see. So anyway, as I was saying, Mike and I both keep a little template on hand to make this recreation. As I explained when the show first started this morning, it's really why redraw this? I would like to get the pose like fairly exact. And since he and I were the first ones to do it, it kind of makes sense. So you're getting a piece from the original, half of the original art team. My air conditioner just kicked on, so I am going headsetless again. Woohoo! Because tonight I will need to wear the headset. That's right. See, AC in January. Um, we also have some sort of weird pollen thing going around again. I was mentioning early, don't know if you heard it, my wife and my son, they get the sinus deal going. I luckily don't have that, but my right eye, only my right eye seems to get gunked up and kind of sticky. And I don't know if I don't, the way I sleep on my right side. Maybe Dr. Kaz has some advice on that because I really it's I had sinus trouble once. I used to always hear people complaining about their allergies and stuff, and I just thought they were a bunch of whiners about how tired they were and they couldn't breathe. And I mean, I could look at their face and tell that they they were congested. You get the puffiness around the eyes. You can hear, but all the other stuff I never understood. And I got a case of it that lasted about 4 days, 3, 4 days. And this has been about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know what happened. It was not a cold. It was in my sinuses, and I could not stay awake. I suddenly I understood what they meant by, you know, not being able to stay awake, that they were tired and they couldn't breathe. And, you could just hear them like laboring to take a breath. And so after my experience with it, it really made me understand that they weren't just a bunch of whiners. And I know people that, literally like on a daily basis, they have sinus problems. And Mike Zeck is one that, uh, he has to almost take like a Claritin or a whatever the other sinus thing is to keep his sinuses clear and open, or it will affect him. So, like I said, I kind of know, but not fully, because the few days I had it was enough. Like I said, the people that live with it every day, boy, I'm I'm blessed that I don't have that. I feel blessed. So if anybody out there suffers from seasonal allergies or just allergies in general, you have my sympathy on that, because it's horrible. And hopefully you're getting some relief through some sort of medication that can help clear it up, or maybe I have actually kind of started trying to, you know, think of more natural ways. Although with my blood pressure, I've had high blood pressure since I was 19 and maybe before. That's just when it came to fruition. And I've done everything when I was younger that the doctors had told me to do. And when they tried to wean me off the medication, it went up. So I understand hereditary. My dad had high blood pressure. So I understand that there are things that are hereditary you can't escape, and you're just stuck with, something that's going to help you, whether it be a pill, a shot, whatever you need. But if there's a way that you can try to do it in a homeopathic way or more natural way, or through, I look now at food as medicine. So, okay, Dr. Kaz, I'm gonna, let's see, Colic Adele Silver Mist Spray. Hmm. I know I butchered the way, way that's supposed to sound. Is that a over the counter? Is that over the counter, Doc? Because I'm gonna write that down here. And let's see. I said is a silver. When you get a chance, let me know if that's over the counter. I would imagine it is, since you recommended it, and didn't tell me I'd have to, or my wife would have to see a doctor or something to get a prescription. But if we can get her a little bottle of that, and I don't know, my son's 6. I don't know if he's allowed to take a little nasal mist or not. Because again, like everybody, mornings are bad, and then nighttime, evening when the sun sets. When the sun's out, I guess it burns the pollen off. There's that classic pose. Now, an interesting thing that some of you may know and some of you may not is if you have the IDW book of Mike Zeck's artwork, these legs were redrawn by John Romita. The original ones that Mike drew and I inked were whited out and redone. But they are the ones that were printed. I'm looking to see if I know I have a copy of it. I just don't know if I have one handy because I could actually find that cover and show it to you. Let me see if I got one here that's quick and easy to find. Nope, don't have one. They must be stored away. Those things are big, so I think I have them still boxed underneath one of my tables. But yeah, so Romita was called in to redraw the legs because Jim Shooter didn't like the way Mike Zeck had done them. So on the original, if you see that book, or if you flip through it, you might be able to see the original cover online too. You'll see whiteout in this area through the legs, and I'm not sure how much they were changed, but I do know they were changed. So interesting little history there that some people don't know. I didn't even know they were changed. I would see the book when it came out, and at this point, I was used to seeing stuff being changed, so I really didn't look for it that much. About issue 8, you will also see in that issue that I only inked maybe half of it, maybe less than half. Reason being is Marvel had scheduled Mike and I to do a 10-day trip. One was a comic shop stop, and the other days were at the only time I've ever been to the San Diego Comic Con, and it was to promote Secret Wars. And I was actually working on issue 8, and I had to go. So the pages were inked by, I think, John Tartaglione inked some, and maybe Mike Esposito. But the cover was done beforehand, before the interiors. So I did ink this this cover before any of the other stuff was inked. Now, back in that day, that was a move that is kind of funny. I remember Marvel was actually going to cancel that trip that they had already booked us on because the book was running late. And I believe it was Zek, because I was a real young, innocent, didn't know what was going on. I was just like, help us out, Mike. They were going to cancel the trip because the book was late. No fault of our own. I'll just leave it at that. So they were going to take that trip away because we were late and have us work on the book instead. And Mike said, if you cancel the trip, then, I'm off the book. And pretty much that that secured our trip, and we did it. Yeah, I don't think it was Ramita. I think it was through Jim Shooter that asked for the correction on the legs that Mike and I did. Ramita was just the person at the time who was in charge of art corrections up in the bullpen. So John Ramita would have been the person that redrew them. Dr. Cass says, yes, natural health food store carry Sovereign brand. Collodol. All right, let me see. I will give this a shot and see if that helps. And I'm gonna imagine that it might be safe since it's a natural for my son, my 6-year-old. Although he's a kid, he's not gonna like any nasal spray. I remember when he was younger and they had those suction things for kids that you get, mucus out for them, so to speak. And that was always the adventure for my wife. To put that little suction ball up there. It's like an eyedropper, but had a different purpose. Those of you who have had kids or have kids now, you probably know what I'm talking about. And those of you that don't, then you'll learn about it eventually when you do. It helps gets the boogies out from the kid's nose when they get congested, is basically the way I'm gonna phrase it. But I appreciate that information, Dr. Kaz. we'll give that a shot and see if that can't give them some relief. Like I said, for me, it's my eye and just the one. So it was bugging me yesterday, and it started bugging me again. Well, it kind of bugged me all day yesterday, and it's been bugging me this morning. Put some drops in it when I got down here, but it still feels like it's kind of tacky, I guess is the best way. It's not as lubed up as my left eye. Although, in all honesty, my right eye, out of, it will occasionally just develop a dry eye syndrome type thing. And I used to have a lot of problems with it, but I don't, it just kind of stopped, kind of went away. I don't know what caused it to start happening, and I don't know what caused it to go away, but I'm happy. I'm glad it did. There were some days I would wake up and that eye would pop when I would open my eye. I don't mean like make a popping noise, but it would be so stuck shut that when I would open it, there were a few times it didn't open. I had to literally not rub it because I knew better than that, but I had to keep some drops on my night table and kind of lube the eye up until it loosened up and my eyelid would open. And I have not had that happen in years now. So hopefully that's gone forever because I really did not like that. See, that's a good question. And I think it just depends on where anything is, if they want to change something, I think it depends on in the process where they see correction being needed. Um, Sometimes they don't see a change needed until after it's inked. Um, a lot of times now, I'm not even sure. Secret Wars was one of those projects where, uh, and I like Jim Shooter. He's a friend of mine. We do conventions together. I used to not like Jim due to some things that happened during Secret Wars that's history past and put behind us. But I will just say, and Jim's admitted it in many panels that we've done, he, Mike, and I, that he knows that he put us through hell on Secret Wars. And he will brag about what superstars we were to put up with him and the whole, changes and all the other minutia that happen behind the scenes. So these days, I think I really can't talk on changes because I'm not currently on a book. But I will tell you this, that when I was doing comics, no, I never, usually what I turned in got printed. Changes became, I think, very rare. And once books, were turned in, done. Now, if you completely draw a character off model, that used to be a problem, but I don't think it is so much these days. Used to, I'll give you the perfect example since this is the Dr. Kaz Spider-Man Friday. Used to, if you didn't draw Peter Parker on the John Romita model, you would get it back for changes. Or they would have Romita, who was on staff as the art director, just go in and redraw over your face, a Romita face on Peter Parker. Nowadays, you can just draw anyone and it's Peter Parker. I think there's there's an effort, I think, by most artists worth their salt to get a look down, but for the most part, whatever they do, the colorist is just going to give him brown hair, and if he's in a Spider-Man book, he becomes Peter Parker. So yeah, there's a little bit of that's gone. Oh, gotcha, gotcha, Dr. Kaz. Okay, sounds good. And thank you again, sir. Hopefully, we'll see you tonight. let this dry down a little bit. I need to do something real quick. Got to check on an email that came in. Mike Cross, how you doing? Yes, this is a new character. I am designing a new suit for Spider-Man. Try the Collodion Silver in my eye too. I will do that. I have the graphic novel. Did you change them into inked versions? Nope, I didn't change anything in the first issue. I inked it exactly how it was sent to me from Mike. Everything that we saw, like I said, we saw the changes when it came out. That was as soon as we saw the changes in the first issue, we kind of had a bad feeling that a lot was going to get changed, and it did. So you can actually go through the books, and usually, like the splash page of issue 12, the big close up of Doctor Doom taking off his mask. I think the eyes, the nose, and the mouth were all redrawn and inked by John Romita. Not Junior, John Romita Senior. He was art director at the time. Because I think the feeling was Jim didn't feel that the Doctor Doom we did was as handsome as he needed to be. So just the changes in Secret Wars, Mike, the overall changes of the entire book. So it wasn't like it was anything, you know, that uh, probably that you don't know about. Well, I mean, unless you've really studied it, I'm sure there's even changes in there that I've missed. Now, I think it's issue 10. There is one Captain America inked by Michael Golden, and then there's also a panel. This is when Mike was doing layouts, Zach was doing layouts, that I asked Golden if he could do um, like finished pencils, and he did on a Wolverine and a Nightcrawler. I think that's in issue 10. All right, so let's finish the blacks on this, and I see some little areas that still look wet. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. The golden Wolverine and Nightcrawler is probably gonna be easier for you to pick out than the Captain America that he inked over Zach, because it really looks like his work from 84, 85. I inked it, he penciled it. Um, I used to have photocopies of it, but those are long gone. Because they turn to dust. The toner, when I moved back to Daytona from Orlando, I had boxes full of photocopies, and I went out and I just picked some up, and like whoosh, like a bunch of soot fell off, and that toner, after, let's see, that would have still been 10, 12 years. That toner just was like, you could just like blow a page and just watch it go. So that's the one bad thing about the photocopy, the toner stuff is, um, at least now with a scan, your pencil work or whatever, it's going to stay. But didn't have that technology back when I was photocopying pencils, and I didn't even have that technology. It was available, but it was so expensive at the time. Let's see, I moved back to Daytona in 2001, so it was available, but the copies were of such deterioration. It's a shame to think that, all the beautiful artwork, even before the 80s. I don't, I'm pretty sure that the Kirby Museum, all that stuff they have, I think is digital. And I don't know who really had the insightfulness to get all the copies made or whatever, the stats of his pencil work. Maybe it was Roz, his wife. Maybe it was some family members, but at the rate he could turn out work, to have all that old vintage stuff in pencil form, I I just have to assume that uh, there was, maybe he was keeping it in case it did get lost or something. I have no idea. I wish I would have been a better steward of my early and even later stuff. You know, a photocopy was so easy to make when the pencils come in, make a photocopy or multiple copies. Um, Put them in the drawer for reference so that I would always have a pencil copy out while I was inking in case I needed to refer and I had tapped the pencils out a bit because some pencilers go dark, and I would usually roll an eraser over a page to lighten it a bit so I could see where my ink line was going down. Um, so it's just really a shame that all of that stuff is. I know Zach had protected his stuff fairly well. That's why there's still copies in the trade paperback that C was talking about of like the pencils to Secret Wars 1. I'm sure that I probably had copies of them at one time, but I don't know. And Mike also was able to furnish pencils for the Punisher book and for Craven. So he still has like a library of photocopies, and I think he may have scanned all that stuff in or had somebody scan it. But myself, I don't, and it's a regret. I wish I did. But like I said, I had photocopies and I thought they were going to be forever. I just didn't know they were going to turn to uh, dust on paper. Thank you, Ron. Dr. Kaz jumped on this right quick. As I did tell him, I had specifically uh, made this, he requested a Spider-Man Friday yesterday. So the actual title of this stream is a Spider-Man, besides the daily live draw, the DLD, hashtag DLD. You will see at the end, it's Spider-Man Friday. And as I was thinking about it this morning, because Webhead kept going through my head, and I kind of had my fill of him this week. I was like, okay, what can I do? I couldn't get a villain out of him yesterday. I was trying to, maybe he was off the stream by the time I asked what was his favorite Spider-Man villain. I figured, oh, I haven't done a villain in a while. I think you can hear me asking that, and I never heard. So I know he likes both the normal web-headed Spider-Man, and I know he likes the black suit Spider-Man. So I thought, hey, you know what I haven't done? A homage to Secret Wars 8, the first appearance. And if I'm going to do it, instead of just doing a character, I may as well just lift the pose from the cover. Just like I do the sketch covers. Just go ahead, trace it off. And that's why I said earlier I was going to hold the dibs off until he came in the room, since, he kind of spawned this idea. No pun intended on the spawn reference there. And within 5 or 10 minutes of him seeing it, bang, my PayPal chimed in on my phone, and we are now working on Dr. Kaz's original homage to Secret Wars 8 on a daily live draw. So he scored a nice pickup this morning, and he is currently probably about ready to see a patient. If you look at the chat, you'll see he had to leave and see a patient at 9, so he said he would leave the background and stuff up to me. So maybe he's gonna be filled up for the rest of the morning and won't get back. But I am sure we will see him tonight. For those of you listening, either live or later, live stream tonight at, I'm thinking, 6 to 6:30, with leaning heavy on 6:30 Eastern time start. And that will include myself and Jared, the yard sale artist Albrecht, and Ron will be there for a while whenever he can make it in. Craig Zablo. And Pat, who you all have heard on a few streams. I have not heard back from him, but I'll send him an invite and leave the back door and porch light open in case he wants to slide in. He'll be able to to do that. I have no idea what I'll be doing tonight, work-wise. I don't know if I'll be doing a smaller piece or working on one of my bigger pieces. I do know this weekend I have to sit down with a calendar and figure out which commissions I need to figure out the order and start working on some of the bigger 9x12s and kind of do I need to start it and finish it, by this time and that time. I think the color pieces will take me 2 to 3 days tops, the full figures. But, that's after my morning stream and stuff, so I got to figure out a schedule on those. And I have a few other things that I have to just look at the calendar and figure out dates and when they're due, when they need to be worked on, and how they fit into the puzzle. That's fine, Ron. Your comments in the chat room are more than welcome. You can have that. I don't know how long Craig will be around. You know him. He's 60 now, so Grandpa kind of. Not that I really stay up late, but I think he even gets a nap in and still goes to sleep early. I don't even get to nap in. Let's see. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do, Ron? Real quick while you're here. I think I have this option. There. You're a moderator now, Ron. That means you can kick people out. I think on your next thing you type in, you should have that little wrench next to your name. I would do that for Mike Cross, but he would kick too many people out. Hey, I'm going to take this opportunity. There you go. There's your wrench, Ron. I don't know if you can see that or not. Oh, I fall asleep quick, but I would like to thank people who have subscribed recently. I appreciate that very much. I think we are at 128 or 129 now. So I do appreciate that. No, the chats don't get that wild. See, if they get wild, it's in between us that are actually doing the stream. But I'd like to thank all the new subscribers and my subscribers that have been with me since day one. If we can get more, I appreciate it very much. So if you want to share this stream on your social media and let them know if you had a good time or not, you can help me out that way. You can also help me out by giving this video and my other ones a thumbs up down below. And you can also help out if you have a question, if you just want to say hello, leave a comment down below. And I will get back to you with an answer. So, yeah, definitely thank you all. And the channel is slowly growing. And I appreciate any help you all can have in that. And maybe we'll reach that magic number. I think 1,000 is where I can monetize, which means I get a small, maybe $20 a month or something. Seriously, I mean, it's small. But, you know, if I'm doing it, it would be kind of nice. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to teach. I'm here to learn, because doing these streams, I also learn. And I have found that YouTube is a very interesting behind the scenes platform. I think I've told this story recently, probably even this week, that I did look at Twitch, but Twitch to me is number one, I do not like Twitch's user experience, the UX, and I do not like the user interface, the UI. I don't like it. It's too busy. I know you can go to theater mode, and you have the streaming window and the chat window, but you still have too much noise going on, at least for my taste. You have too much noise going on beside those windows. Too many ads flashing by, and just too much noise in general. Like I said, what I like about YouTube is it's very clean. It's laid out on a nice system. It just, it just is more attractive to me visually. So I could probably grow a channel faster on Twitch. I might, I won't rule it out, like doing something on Twitch, but I would probably basically just use Twitch to tell people, come over to YouTube. You're going to get more content. So if you ever see me on Twitch, it's not because I might, if they kind of change things around, I could possibly stream to both, which some people do. Hold on one second. I called your mother a wench last night, Trebek. So yeah, if you ever see me on Twitch, it's probably going to be just trying to get new people to float over this way, over this direction, because it kind of gives me a headache looking at all the noise around the artwork. I don't know if anyone else feels that way or not. Episode 37. Wow. Incredible, people. And 4 for 4 on the new year. We'll take the weekend off and start back again on the 7th. Now, got to figure out some clouds here, that plume of smoke in the background that's always on Secret Wars 8 cover. Let me you know, Shannon, you're right. And I've had that, like, on, I think, the first Friday live stream. I went out just before and I got a large, I mean the big one, iced coffee from Starbucks with a double shot in it, and I drank it fairly quick, and there was still about 30 or 40 minutes before the live stream, just enough for that caffeine to kick in. And by the time it was, that was when I was inking that flash head, which was fairly simple on the inking. But it took me so long because, well, number one, I'm slow to begin with in my work, but I was twitching a bit from the caffeine finally kicking in. So you're absolutely right, though. It's one of those deals where, okay, trying to think if I'm gonna orange background this. Kind of got to get the clouds in first. So that's what I'm gonna work on. The clouds in first, or the smoke, actually. And I just need, it doesn't really matter. It can be as light as this is, so that's going to be fine. I just need some plumage. I do need this. Go ahead and drop down there for a minute, Spidey. Will I put this up? This is the paper towel that I use to dab extra water or color or tone out of my brush when I get too much. It's kind of out of the picture now. I kind of like you all to see as much as possible, but ah, that didn't sound good, but we'll just forget that. All right, so I'm gonna go in and this can, like I said, I'm not worried about it being dark yet. It will eventually get there. It can be any random. It's a great thing about smoke. I mean, it does have a certain look, but for the most part, the only thing I'm worried about following is a flow, like a wind flow. Other than that, I'm not overly concerned. As you can see, I'm trying to develop a little bit of, just a little bit with this light. Maybe you can't see because it is light, but, and I haven't looked up at the monitor yet because I want to move that while it's still wet around. And that's looking about right. And it does come down into here. And this disappears into behind you. Okay. That can go away. Yeah, it's just a bit visible. I can see that now, Ron. But that's fine. Now the question is to let the smoke bloom. And for that, I'm first just going to make a nice wet. This is kind of where the magic happens with watercolor and or wash. And this is where I have to exercise constraint. Kind of. I will move it around a little bit. Okay. And time to make a dark wash. Come on. Bloom, 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 bloom. And dab. Gotcha. And dab. Dab. Dabba dabba. There we go. Now we're getting into some nice smoky effect. How's that? Yep, that's working good. Bloom. Bloom and dab. When I get near a final, I won't dab as much, I don't think. It'll be kind of more like this, like I'm painting in now, but I still want to dab while I can to get my midtones. And I'm going to go ahead and get up here nice and close. Dab. Okay, more water. That should do. And let's start to develop All right, I think we're getting a nice blend of cloudy texture, billowing smoke going on here. Quite pleased with the way it's working with me. Or maybe I'm losing a bit of my fear as I do more. I think that has something to do with it too. As I learn more about working with wash, tends to be less nerve-wracking for me. Less feeling that I'm gonna make a huge mistake, because I think, you know, I think the ink, the color playing around, that is the intent. And like I've explained before, for someone like me, y'all know my inking is very controlled. When I like this little blob of darker ink there, I just need to learn to let that go, which I'm getting better at, because they make very interesting blends with the other layers themselves. So that's a big hurdle when you are a person trying to do watercolor and yet you want to control what you're putting down. So the less I interfere and the more I let it do what it's supposed to do or what it wants to do, the better the overall results are going to be for everybody involved. I still hear I guess she was my 10th and 11th grade art teacher, and I'm doing it a bit now, but I still hear her voice in my head. Uh, don't scrub, don't scrub. She would always say that when we were doing watercolor, because she was a master watercolorist. I've told that story before, and she really knew. Boy, her watercolors were just beautiful. She had them hanging up. They were in the school library and the school office, and um, she was a really fun lady, I have to admit, and she was elderly, but I think she enjoyed teaching. I wonder if she was as old as I think she. I don't think I ever knew her age, but I'm gonna. This is like one of those wild guesses, you know. I believe that when she was teaching, uh, when I had her for art, she had to be in her 70s. And she may have been. I don't know if there's a mandatory retirement in school. Uh, she was teaching art, high school art, and it's one of those things where I could see them letting her continue to teach. Hey, good morning, Jerome. This is a semi-commission. It is a piece that Dr. Kaz um, for Dr. Kaz. He wanted a Spider-Man Friday, so I gave it to him, and I held this piece, and as soon as he came in, being a full figure, being the nature of what it is, the on-stream price was $80, and he slapped down as soon as he could. But when I started this stream, I kind of, I did announce that I was going to kind of put a freeze on this one until Dr. Kaz had a chance to say yes or no. So that's kind of how this went. But good morning to you, and yeah, you didn't really oversleep horribly, right? Well, that is around 9:30, so maybe you did. I don't know. I'll leave that to your discretion whether you overslept or not. I'm not going to judge. And Jerome, we will be having I'm going to just go ahead and call it 6:30 now. 6:30 p.m., which will be 7:30 in the morning, I believe, for you there in Singapore. So, but we'll probably go for about 3, maybe 4 hours tonight. Who knows? We'll go until everyone gets too tired and is falling asleep. But so if you can make it, I'm actually going to make a live event reminder thing. And like I said, I don't know if those show up in your into your notifications or not. When I create a live event, I don't know if it just tells you how many hours until it starts or what the deal there is. I would like to think it would, but I'm not sure. Well, thank you. Mike Cross, if you're still listening, I just saw your hand-jive. My camera is right here. I don't have the hand-jive room that I used to. So I'm not hand-jiving because I'm afraid I'm going to whack my camera. The other camera is set a little bit further away, I believe. This one's not that far away, but I don't feel like I have the how's that? I just did a little hand jive for you. I even put a clap in. Did you miss? Here, I'm gonna do it. I'm warming up. I'm gonna start with the flip flop. Shimmy sham. Shimmy sham. I'll slow that down so here. I'm gonna give you some basic moves. Clap, clap. Up and down. Right? Up and down. Over. Shimmy. Sham. Shimmy. Sham. Shimmy sham. Roll. Thumbs up. You usually don't see this thumbs up. Thumbs down, palms out, back to a shimmy sham roll, clap. There you go. A quick lesson in the Southern hand-jive. That is so ridiculous. But if it made you happy, I am happy. How's that? That was pretty funny. What am I doing? If that made Mike Cross laugh, and I hope he is, I am happy I did it. I'm not embarrassed at all. If it gave my buddy a chuckle, it was worth it. But you know, those could be some good lessons. You all might find those handy. Somewhere, sometime, you might have a use for them. And then again, you might not. So that's the hotel room hand jive. Hey, what are you trying to say? I gave your mother the hotel hand jive last night, Trebek. She enjoyed it very much. All right, let me, I'm going to let that dry naturally for a bit and then think about if I'm going to shape it more, add more dark to it, feather it out a little bit differently or something, and or paint an orange background on it. All these decisions. I like that though. It is funny. It is funny. Let's see. Orange background. What do y'all think? I'm still trying to decide if that would be way overkill. It might be. It just might be. Just looking at my phone real quick, going through some stuff that I don't need while I'm thinking. So please understand. that. Okay. Decision time. Orange wash background. I'm not sure. That just might be way too much. I don't want to just put orange over the clouds. Although, I'm stumped here, people. I'm stumped, see? I could put the blue on the suit in and see if that I know I want to do, well, I want to keep this kind of as close to the original, and there was no shading in the eyes. I was going to put a little light gray wisp in there. I still could. This is an homage piece, and it's new. Signing will be done down here as normal. That background really has me thinking. And I'm getting no help from the chat that I can see, so I guess y'all are leaving this one up to me. All right. Let me check my orange. That's what I'm going to do. Because I do have a, well, that's tiger yellow. Indian yellow. Not the scarlet, although it scans orange. Let me see. Maybe I don't have an orange. Thought I did. No orange. No orange. No orange. Indian yellow. This tiger yellow is a beautiful color, but I don't think it's going to be right. I don't think it will be right. I don't think the Indian yellow will be right. The scarlet would be the closest thing I have because, like I said, I think the original color was supposed to be red. I could fade it down from red into an orange. But I'm trying to think of something a little more creative, maybe. That's what I've been told, Ron. That's what I've been told, sir. Tiger yellow. Well, let's see, because you know, it has a kind of an orange appeal, but I could do a mix. That would work. The red and a little bit of red and that yellow together. Ooh, that could be that could be really nice. Okay, I may have convinced myself now. Still thinking about it though. Wondering if I should do the whole thing or just like yellow, let it go into the clouds to saturate those with some color. But Well, it's that time. Make a decision. Let's see. I have a somewhere. Not seeing it though. There it is. Voila. I have a bigger brush. This is a size 12 for a nice background wash. First thing to do, as I follow Paulo Rivera's advice when he said to make things blend, is to put some water all over the area that's going to get the color so that your blends are more friendly, so to speak. So we are going to do that. And I'm going to give it a dry. Trying not to activate the gray, but it's tough. Probably should have done this in the whole background to start with. But didn't, so we'll live with what we got, and it's still going to work. I know it is. Board is beginning to bow a bit. I actually thought I won't put the blue down first, because if I do touch it with the color I'm going to mix, it will bleed into it, and I would rather dry the yellow, red, orange color mix and dry it, and then if the blue goes into it, it'll be dry in the bigger area. So that makes more sense to me. If you all followed along with that, then okay. I'm thinking out loud, but letting you hear what I'm thinking, what my brain is going through. Probably is a lot more complicated, or not as complicated as I'm making it sound. So pay no attention to my random thoughts of thinking out loud. All right, so hairdryer time, people. It's kind of like hammer time, but it's hairdryer time. Hands-free. Okay. Now I have bowed the paper the other way, which is fine. Ron, you were probably, I missed a spot. Let me dab that up. Ron, you were probably typing that as I realized I should just make a mix. Actually, the mix could be interesting. I don't mind if it kind of plays around in here too. Let me get that mixed up. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. Okay, so do I use my... This is the brush I'd like to put that down with. But these areas, they need a little more delicate touch. Well, I know that I'm probably going to need a lot more of this tiger yellow than I am the red. Let's see what this tiger yellow on a brush looks like just straight. Okay, too yellow. Needs a touch of the red, after all, of the scarlet. Ah, wait a minute. You're kidding me. I knew it. Let it come into focus. I just found this. Sunset, it's not going to be in focus. Sunset orange. I knew it. I knew it. Oh, man. How did I not see that? But you know what? Let's take a look at it. Because I still may take a mix and put some... Well, you know what? I might do a mix anyway. Boy, that's one of those moments where you just go like, really? I just looked at all my inks, and then suddenly, when I dump a lot of yellow out, it shows up. Life can be cruel, right, Mike Cross? Well, this is about as far as the figures going, Jerome, and then the clouds are in, so orange, an orange wash in the background. Although it was technically red, I just think red's too dark. And then blue is going to be on the highlights. Let's see. Oh yeah, well, perfect, right? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So the yellow I just dumped out. Well, I might be able to eyedropper it back. This is going to be perfect. That orange is spot on for what I want. So let me, I knew I had an orange. It was the silence. I can get some back up with the eyedropper. Back in my bottle. Let's do it again. Hey, that's working good. The things they have today, like an eyedropper where you can take liquid back up out of your palette. Amazing. Okay, so it's not a waste. Not a waste. All right. Now, I'm trying to think how to tile this, which means doing areas so it won't look so, it won't. I'm trying to think, where do I start? How fast do I go? So, no, there won't be a Zach Beatty subscriber option. That would have to include Mike, and Mike is I can't talk him into doing this. So, but we do convention sketches. It shows. Mike Cross there can let you know. All right. So I have just my straight out of the bottle orange, and do I pyramid the legs? Like come in here and do that. I know what I'm going to do. Because this will actually look like I did it on purpose if I can't get a nice blend. That's to go someplace where I have a lot of safety nets. So to speak. And one is to use the clouds, the billowing smoke, as kind of a trap. Wow, that actually looks good. I wasn't gonna just go over the clouds, but uh, hmm, that kind of changed my mind. Leaving the white might be actually very striking. Let me saturate this a tad more. Because what I'm thinking is if this that surprised me. I'm glad I started this way. Because this is looking very sharp. I am very critical about my work, as most of you know, and that is, to me, a little more saturation of the orange here in the dark. And boy, that just really struck my eye when I looked at it on the monitor. Boom. Jerome, if we ever get to Singapore, I'm sure that option will be available. Shannon, that's some very good advice. A Zablo Beatty is, yeah, that's easy to get. Mike Cross, I still say that you have probably got one of my favorite, if not the favorite, Captain America commissions that Mike and I have done. In fact, I believe the one you did was the first one he really did his Wally Woodish split lighting on. He really wasn't doing a lot of that until when he gave me that to ink. I was like, whoa, that Mike Cross must have slipped you another 50 or something like that. Didn't make it my way, but boy, I'll tell you, you, sir. And ever since then, because I made a point to ask him, I said, dude, this is this is the stuff here. I'll just leave it at that. Because before they were nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, the other commissions were nice, but that lighting he put on yours, that just went that went next level. I'm sure you will agree, Mr. Cross. Did you grease his palm by telling him you really liked his cap and you knew that he had in a capacity assisted Wally Wood at one time and how much you loved that type of lighting? Because I will tell you, after I posted that and a few people saw it, people were coming up and they were they were saying like, "Hey, can you do that like lighting down the middle thing that I saw on a Captain America online?" And it was pretty funny, lighting down the middle. They called him lighting down the middle. Mike Cross's fiddle. Da, 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 da. I guess I should not try to sing. Called him lighting down the middle, playing an old fiddle. Mike Cross has got one of my favorite Captain America drawings. Bam. Mike Cross, I just begged a ton. Well, Jerome, that's because I'm not famous enough to. I have to be my own persona. Uh, I didn't have the digital age when I was really active in comics. Therefore, there is a slight advantage to. Um, well, there's an advantage and disadvantage, I guess. I enjoy interacting with people myself. As you may have noticed, I kind of like to talk a lot. So it doesn't bother me to have a conversation. Some people, maybe not so much. You know, they could just be shy. I kind of consider myself an introvert in many ways, but in many ways, I, I, I don't know if I fit that mold because I do get chatty, but I think it's because I'm going to say this and maybe it'll come through the right way. It's like this is my turf, so I feel like I'm, the leader of it. So therefore, whatever I say is all good. And I am really thinking, I am seriously, I don't think I need to, with this effect, with the wash and the orange over the clouds, I think if I do the whole thing, I think I kill the color maybe. I don't know. Input people or no input? Do I get help from my crowd here, or do I get crickets? I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute, and let's give it a... Yeah, it takes a while, Jerome. You know, when you're doing a show, you see a lot of people. I mean, you see a lot of people, you know, you see a lot of artists, but the artists see, you know, a lot of people. Okay, so let's analyze this piece a little bit and decide, because as it stands now, that looks pretty dramatic. I'm still going to go in with blue. If I wash the rest with orange, see, the only thing I'm concerned about, of course, is I don't have any orange over here. And if I do wash it, then I'm going to get that. But it's just that when I made the shape around the clouds, it's kind of my cheat to start tiling in areas. It was so striking, it grabbed my eye. Now I have to kind of view the whole picture, though. Thanks, Jerome. Um, hmm. Oh man, this is a tough decision. Tough, 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 I say. I think I really can't get away not putting in the rest of the orange, or at least orange with maybe some blots or something textural. But boy, I'll tell you, this is tough. Very, very tough. Although I could brush in some orange. You guys know what I mean. You know, those flash lines coming in this orange might look very nice. Might look really, really nice. Well, but then it might look weird with the white areas, the negative. All right, well, I think I have to finish the orange somehow. I don't think I can leave it, although it does look striking. It looks off balance. If I just put orange on the bottom, I think that would make it look off balance more. So, all right, here we go, kids. It's orange. Gonna need some more. I mean, I don't think making the background all orange can kill it. I'm just saying that that's such a cool effect. That's basically my problem. Well, not my problem, but my quandary here. But All right, I think I will go use this area to tile in. Whoop. Yeah, if we're going to drip, let's drip up right now, because I might drip down later, but not yet. The main thing I'm looking for right now is coverage. And I can always cheat and try to smooth out any areas. Although, you know, this is watercolor, and watercolor is meant to blend and have little areas of dark and light. That's one thing I need to remember. It's part of the beauty of watercolor. It's part of what I like about it when I see somebody do something. So I probably need to concentrate less on making this like a Photoshop cut color and make it perfectly orange, and let some of the lights and darks of how the color moves. Again, like I've said before, let them do what they do and not be so controlling, or try to be controlling, because this stuff is going to get away with what it wants to do anyhow. And once I can conquer that fear, then I can really move forward. I wonder if everybody that works in watercolor has the same uh, little fears that I do, that they're, you know, they try to lay down the flattest color they can instead of, well, I've got no formal training, so that's the deal, is I think these things are supposed to look perfect. And I don't know why, because every beautiful watercolor that I see has shade and value changes in the same color. It's never laid down, it's just a flat tone. So you're just getting, you know, again, you're kind of getting to hear inside my mind what I say to myself and how I convince myself that what I'm doing is actually the right thing. And I know it is, because I've had people tell me as much, but what you sometimes, you know, hear and try to put into action, and what you wind up doing can be two very drastic things. But I gotta say, right now, I am loving the feel of this piece. So, in my heart of hearts, I know I made the right decision. Because while it looked cool with just the orange over the clouds, it was off balance. And not in a good way. So, This is actually quite relaxing. Now that I've established that these lights and darks are meant to happen, I mean, I think I may have finally come to grips with that problem that I've been having, which is a nice thing. That I talked myself into realizing that watercolor is not about putting down a smooth, even color. It's about letting the color move about itself. I mean, yeah, I am controlling it in two ways. With water, although this is just right out of the bottle, so it's already liquefied. I haven't added any water to it to make it more wet because it's fine the way it is. So it's about controlling the water, and it's also in the bigger picture, it's about letting the color do what it wants. I can control one thing, and that's the amount of water. I'm not going to be able to control to the degree I would like to the way the color sits or blends or dries. Only so much. Like, see, I'm going back and scrubbing this. It's dry, but now I'm seeing these little weird things that I can kind of get them out. I can make it a little more smooth. But I realize that it's kind of a nice thing to have in an original, especially in an original, is a few flaws. But since I have extra watercolor in the brush, and I was working over that way, I'm going to go ahead and touch that up. And now the last thing is I do need to saturate, meaning add more color into this plume of smoke once again. And up. And there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let that stay there because I'm just going to dry it. Can't put any tape on it right yet. Hey! Come back here. All right. That's looking nice. Let's see. Shannon says, I foresee a lot of similar piece commission requests coming after this stream. Do you mean like the Secret Wars 8? This one, Shannon, or just similar in that on this small size, a full figure background is, well, I tell you, it needs to be a lot of work. Luckily, this costume is simple enough. anything more detailed, and we're getting into, we may as well go to a larger size. This was a kind of a special Dr. Kaz deal here. But I know what you mean in a sense. Yeah, this one, right. That's what happened with my sketch covers is I did one and then I've actually done two. I've actually done two Secret Wars covers, sketch covers, number 8, with the full background. And it was for the same person, I think. No, it was for separate people. I did one. He saw it and asked if I could replicate it. And I told him not for the price I did the first one. So he paid me quite handsomely to redo it. It was just in black and white with the smoke plume in gray. Ron, I bet there's somebody sitting at home or going to watch this later asking about why you didn't grab it. You know, Jerome, I'm going to say this, and I think Ron's okay. Ron took a little heat for Wednesday, didn't you, Ron? Ron took a little heat that he didn't call dibs earlier on that Peter Parker Miles Morales commission that you wound up getting. Now, I'm not saying that for any other reason that Ron told me about it, and so Ron and I have. I'm going to be recreating that commission, except I'm going to be doing it. We're going to upsize Ron to a 9x12. So. Yes, well, uh, you never know, right? It's like if you would have done it, she may have said, "Why did you get that?" I mean, I don't know. It sounds like she's a lady of good taste, and she was, she was probably thinking that it was in your back pocket, and boom. But like I said, we're gonna hook you up with a 9x12, right? So now we get the blue. And I'm coming up on 3 hours again. I've trapped myself. This was supposed to be a 1 hour morning stream when I first started, from pencils to inks. I guess the first one, since I was beginning to dab in watercolor, I also wanted to add the color for my own fun, and I did it at an hour. And I think that was the last one that lasted an hour. After that, it was like, you know. Now on this, I think, if I remember correctly, I'm gonna put this color down. I'm gonna put this as the regular blue. I am gonna keep the blue brighter. Unlike the Miles Morales one, I will go back over this again with the same blue to darken it, but it is not gonna get the more ultramarine blue, because in this time period, specifically the Secret Wars time, the blue that they were using was more of this cyan color. So I'm going to keep it in the retro era and not go deeper on it. So there is some thought behind what I do and how I do it. I have no idea what I'm doing tonight. Um, if anybody wants to pre-commission a small piece and give me an idea of what they want now, and I will do that tonight, that's fine. If not, I will just come up with something and okay, Ron, that sounds good. Those commissions, Jerome, get into a little more money um, than a full figure, believe it or not. Well, I I, I have to qualify it than a full figure that I'm offering now. If you want to discuss a 9 by 12 like that, shoot me an email. I'll give you a price, and you can have a small one and a large one. And I told Jasper, yeah, that you all could split shipping, but I'm gonna have to. What I'll do is once I get everything ready to go to you guys, I'm gonna take it down to the post office. Um, because the rate there, the 15, from what I understand, is not gonna cover shipping. So just to give you a heads up, I'm gonna wrap everything, take it down, and get the get the actual rate on it, so I can give you a quote on the shipping that will be good for both of us. So so I don't lose money on shipping, and so that you know exactly what you're paying. Sound good? Where did all my paper towels go? Why are they on the floor? Ah, okay, yeah. I had a friend of mine um, years ago. He needed some art supplies that he could not get in the Philippines, and it was very weird. He had me get the supplies, and then it was called Johnny something. I sent him to New York, uh, and then it was a forwarding service. And man, he not only did he get that stuff fast, but it was efficient, and I can't remember what it was. It was Johnny's something, and I'd never heard of it before, but it worked out great. It was very easy and very inexpensive compared to other ways. And like I said, I'm no lie, I think it was a week he got the supplies instead of maybe 3 weeks or something. And then paying like whatever whatever the post office wanted to charge him, whatever the clerk on duty would have said, hey, you know what? I want 50 pesos for you know, for handing this over. It's really like extortion. Sad but true. Okay. Wait a minute. Uh, yeah, I thought I told you that the price I gave you included the book and the sketch. Whatever the price I think I gave you yesterday for the Secret Wars from 2015 blank sketch cover variant 001 with this particular sketch like I've been doing. Spider-Man, the smoke in the background. Whatever that price was is included in your that includes the cover, and like I said, I'll when I get you and Jasper done, I'll just put everything together and then see how much it weighs and what shipping is unless you have a better way. And then you can just send me the shipping money later, or you know, once you know or once I know. Right now, I just got to get the work done. So that's why probably Sunday I'm going to work out a rest of January calendar on what needs to be done, how long I think it's going to take me, and then I'll be able to work off of that. That's what I told Jasper in an email last night. I believe I told him I was going to work on a calendar so he'd have like an idea of when I'd be done. Now, things can change from that or get moved around, but for the most part, I'm going to try to adhere to that schedule that I come up with myself because I got some other stuff I have to work in as well. All right. I believe I don't like to put this tape. I'm going to make a little holder type deal here. Which is the better way? There we go. See, but that's, I'm trying to explain to you, Jerome, the sketch covers aren't included on the YouTube deal. They're priced different. This is on paper. The sketch covers are a whole different beast. They're a lot harder to work on. So I don't really discount those unless I'm running a special or something. But so the price I gave you is the price it would be if I'm following your conversation. All right, I am thinking. I'm thinking this should be done. I know there's a few little lines, and I truthfully, let's get this out. They're here, and they're not wiggly. I don't know why at the time. I don't know if I don't even know if Mike and I did those. To tell the truth, I think Mike didn't do any spider sense, is my gut feeling. And I think if I add any spider sense up there, especially lines like that. Hey, good morning, AG. That's not my reference. I use that to trace them off. I explained earlier that since I'm the original inker on this and Mike's the original penciler, we both use a thing like this, and we just lightly trace off, just like I did this one. I took my scan of that cover and I shrunk it down to fit, because there's no use in trying to redraw a pose that we already did ourselves. It saves time. It makes the pose more accurate, and it's, like I said, there's not a good reason to reinvent that wheel when you're doing your own homage cover or sketch. So it can be done. It's kind of senseless if you follow me. Now, if it was not part of what I did, my own art, I would probably redraw it from the ground up. Depending on what it was and the purpose. But for this, there's no reason for me to try to redraw that figure every time. Makes no sense. Yeah, the front part, I show the reference. You'll see a light pencil drawing. It's just enough for me to ink from and get going. So I guess it's been 3 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. Time to get off here and get ready for tonight. Tonight, for those of you who have heard or haven't heard, 6:30, that'd be myself, Jared Albrich, the yard sale artist. Ron will be in for a bit. He will probably be mostly typing, he says. Craig Zablo will be in the house for a bit, and we'll be having a little bit of fun, and maybe Pat will drop in also for some comments and jokes or whatever. I don't think I'm going to put anything, Jerome. I think it will add more noise. I think right now I have a perfect piece of work. My signature will go down below. In fact, that's what I was going to do. I was going to review. I always review the week. So as I'm closing, I would like to say thank you all for showing up. Let me finish about tonight's. Tonight at 6:30, we will have we will have a show. 6:30 Eastern time. I am available right now for a 6x8 order. If anybody is interested in getting in on that tonight, I really don't have anything on the agenda to do. So if I come up with something myself, it will probably either be sold tonight or um, in my shop or at a convention. If somebody is looking to get something, chime in the room now. Yeah, definitely, AG. Stop in tonight. If somebody wants to get something right now, let me know if you're in the chat. Get my attention. If not, I will just choose something. Maybe I'll get around to that Batman Who Laughs character or something. And in that case, then I just price it to whatever I feel is good. And like I said, if it's my choice, then I eventually will sell it somewhere down the road if it doesn't sell in the room. So no sweat. I'm just giving you an opportunity to chime in with something if you were wanting something special. So anyway, yeah, we will be working. Um, this is for Dr. Kaz. This is Spider-Man Friday that he asked for. This was the best thing I could think of because I have not done a full figure on this 6x8 size and in color. So if you go back and watch the beginning, I was talking to Ron and I told him I'm holding this for Dr. Kaz to see it, and he got first dibs. And as soon as he saw it, he hit my PayPal up, and we were off to the races. I think he's currently with clients right now, so he will probably tune in tonight. Other than that, thank you all. You can do me a huge favor by, of course, sharing on social media. Um, let's see. Somebody just texted me about. Okay, that's Jared. He's officially in. I like the GIF he sent. Very good. Ron, you'll probably be seeing that too. Uh, so maybe he's watching at work and can't say anything, but he sent me a text. So, yeah, 6:30. And thank you all. It is official. J-Rod will be in the house. Oh, all right. So review. Going out to Shannon. Symbiote Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The first one. My first drawing of 2019. Shannon, you got my first drawing. First of the new year. Second one goes to Jerome. 1/2/19, Peter Parker and Miles Morales split Spider-Man. The 3D effect is in effect. And for Don, the Dark Knight from yesterday, signed down in white here on the bat. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this. So, and then since we didn't have one Monday, Friday, Dr. Kaz, Secret Wars number 8, cover recreation. So, there you go. Yes, Shannon, it was I'll tell you, it was an awesome week. I've had a lot of really nice feedback from this week. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Shannon, Ron, AG, Dr. Kaz, C, everybody that showed up. I don't know. I got to figure out a better system right now. I'm, spending time. YouTube needs my attention because I need to make thumbnails after the show. I do put them up on Twitter. I have everything scanned in. I probably should make a little sketchbook of these. Um, uh, but, that's maybe down the road. I'm still improving my skills on ink wash and watercolor. So that's been a big plus. I just like looking at this drawing on the monitor. It's really grabbed my attention. Oh, I'm staying on YouTube. I mean, I'll be off when I'm at a convention or something, although I can either record in my room when I'm inking a Zec sketch. I can't really do something from the show floor. I may actually, though, I got the idea from Walden Wong. Before hours, we're allowed to get in and set up. And I like his videos where he walks around the convention floor and just kind of goes by people's booths and tells you who's there and stuff. I might do something like that and then upload it later. It seems like it's a fun thing to do, or I would probably do it live. Just spend the 10 or 15 minutes walking around saying hello and telling people they're on YouTube and whatever. Let them know. Um, well, I might. Hey, Dr. Kaz, glad you got to see glad you got in here before I signed off. Yes, I don't know if you got to catch the when I just had orange over the clouds. It looked really good. The white space was okay, but it was bothering me that there was no orange over here. And so I just went all in and put the orange background on. And I had to I've really made peace with letting the watercolor. It's got these little darker spots and lighter spots, and that's the nature of watercolor. I kind of had an epiphany today. That's a big word for me. Jared would love that I use that word. That I need to let watercolor be watercolor and do that special thing. That's what I love about watercolor, and yet I try to control it like it's acrylic or something else. So this helped me move past that today in the background because I can't do a flat orange color. So it's like, especially this big and around this area. So I'm like, it's going to have darker spots and lighter areas. Interplay. That's the beauty of it. Let's drive this channel up. I will be back at 6:30. I don't know what I'll be doing yet. If you catch me before I go live, if you say, hey, John, I just thought, I'd like to commission you to do this tonight. I'm going to keep it at a 6x8 size. I'll work something out with you, maybe if I can. If not, then we'll just see what I come up with. So other than that, I appreciate you people very much. Thanks again for supporting my morning stream. And I'll see y'all later tonight, hopefully. Have a great rest of your Friday. Be careful. Take care. Enjoy the day. And see you this evening. We'll have some other people in the house, so we should have some laughs. That's it. I'm out of here for now. Gonna go scan this, make a thumbnail, put it out on Twitter and Facebook, and finish the YouTube stuff up so I can add this to the playlist. Take care. I'm gone.